Scott's known as the conflict whisperer and fun maker. He's passionate about sharing how to develop your conflict intelligence by transforming conflicts into connection. Don't get jealous, Scott lives in Byron.
Thank you. I'd actually like to start today by sharing something that I don't share with many people. In fact, it's something that some of you may be surprised about and others of you shocked. What I'd like to say about myself is that I love conflict. Can I ask if anyone else loves conflict? Oh, just the one. Well done, well done. Does anyone not mind conflict? With the husbands, okay? Who doesn't like conflict? And who likes watching other people in conflict? Nice. That's not good, okay? Alright. Actually, can I ask how many people have to deal with conflict quite regularly? So who would have to deal with staff conflict? Okay. How many would be dealing with volunteer conflict? And what about client conflict? Okay. And anyone all three? Okay, lucky you. I want to give a little sort of background about, I guess, how I came into this field and share a bit of a story about myself, a bit of a personal story, I guess. By the time I was 12, both my parents had died. So my dad had died when I was about a bit over 1 by a heart virus, and my mum unfortunately died of leukemia when I was in grade 6. So I was actually raised by my stepfather, and I had 3 siblings, and unfortunately I didn't get on with my stepfather very well. So we fought all the time. I was actually really unhappy as a teenager. So I didn't get on with him. I finally moved out of home. I actually got myself to uni. I did a science degree and then a social work degree. And the funny thing was I was drawn to conflict. And I actually ended up volunteering for an agency that specialised in parent-adolescent mediation. And I really liked it, so I then, once I'd done my social work degree, I spent quite a lot of time working with parents and teens, risk of homelessness. And, but I was still sort of, I guess, searching for some peace. I wasn't very happy. And it led me to moving with my wife and my young daughter up to Byron Bay. But it also led me on a journey, I guess, to India. And I guess with that, in terms of my career, I did a lot of parent analysis, and then I worked more in the workplace and do a lot in the workplace. I work with teams in conflict, training, etc. So I've got a little... Okay, so that's my team. But in terms of the India part, I've actually been going to this ashram in southern India for about 20 years. And I've been going there and practicing meditation and mindfulness. And I guess what we start to see, and this has sort of helped me find greater peace within myself, but what I start to see is how the mindfulness and the areas that I've studied and practiced in terms of conflict, psychology, emotional intelligence and mindfulness can all be put together in terms of how to deal with conflict. So, what I want to go through today is what is conflict intelligence, and to put it really succinctly, is quite hard. Obviously, it's about being intelligent in conflict. It's about insight, having the right mindset. But what I've got more recently is that conflict is an invitation. It's an invitation. And I want you to think about that as we go through the session. What is an invitation to? I'll come back to that. So, let's look at conflict intelligence. It actually has 4 main elements. First one is conflict awareness, self-awareness, other awareness, and then putting that into collaborative understanding to find creative resolution. So, let's start off with conflict awareness. Has 3 main aspects, and we're going to go through each of those. This is going to be a bit interactive, so what I'm going to ask you to do is a couple of little things with partners. First thing I'd like you to do, if you don't know the person next to you, you're going to introduce yourself very briefly and say hello. And then, well done. That's quite a long hello. Yeah. Okay. Thank you for introducing yourself. Now, I'd like you in 1 minute or less to come up with a definition of conflict. See what you come up with your new friends, please. I'd like to introduce you to my bells. When I ring my bells, it just means to stop talking, please. I'm from Byron Bay. Does everybody have bells? No? Alright, who thinks they come up with a good definition? Put your hand up, please. What have you got?
Two differing positions that create friction.
Okay, nice. Yes. Yes. Ooh. That's nice. Any others?
Active disagreement.
Active disagreement. If I was to disagree with James, would we be in conflict? Excuse me? Well, I'm just saying he's wrong. Is that conflict? Why not?
We said it needed to be intractable.
Hey? Tractable?
Intractable. Everything else can be worked.
Well, that's quite a big word, isn't it? Anyone know what that means? But what I want to know is if James and I are in conflict. What would it take?
Emotions.
Take emotions. What sort of emotions? Are you angry? Is that a threat? He said not yet. Alright, now you're pretty much on the button, everybody. So there has to be generally a perceived threat to our needs, concerns or values. It does have to have some sort of ongoing emotional impact. So if James and I disagreed, but we were okay with that, it didn't raise strong emotions, it's not generally defined as conflict. And it's both interpersonal and intrapersonal, so it's both within and between. Alright, I want to go through a few conflict traps. What do you think the number one trap is that people fall into in conflict? What's something that most people do almost automatically? Entrenched positions, I like that. Get defensive, react and blame. Nice. So, have a look at this, see if you can get it. Everybody get it? See the blue on the wall? Okay, good. You guys are quick. Okay. Been another place and they just go, oh, isn't it? Well, I'll laugh 5 minutes later. So anyway, that's alright. We're all different. Alright, so why do you think we're so quick to blame? What is that about? We do it almost automatically. You see kids do it, but adults do it too. Why?
Yeah.
Fear of what? Fear of getting in trouble. Why else do we blame so quick?
Easier path.
Sorry?
It's an easier path.
It's easier than what?
Resolving the issue.
Easier than resolving. Easier than taking responsibility.
Because we think we're perfect and we can't see our own faults, so we think it is their fault. That's why.
Okay. Speak for yourself. Okay. So rude. No, you're right. But did you know that we have 3 brains? Who knows we have 3 brains? Alright, what are they? Limbic. Okay, that's going a bit far. Okay. So, you know, we have 3 brains. So we have the reptilian brain. Did you know you have a reptile in your brain? It's no joking. It's the oldest part of the brain, and it's the one that reacts to conflict. And guess how it reacts? Yeah. It's fear, it's fight, flight, defend, blame. So we have the other ones, the limbic, which is the emotional, and the newest brain, which is the frontal lobe and the neocortex. And unfortunately, when we get into conflict, we react because we feel it fear, we feel threatened, and we act like a reptile. And it's really hard to stop often for people. That's Homer. Alright, I'm going to show you some pictures, and I'd like you to don't say it out loud. What you see, say it in your head. Is that alright? Okay, some of you might struggle. But what do you see? First thing you see, say it in your head. You ready? Okay, you can say it now. What do you see? Which tiger do you see? Who sees the big one? Who saw that one? And who saw the little one? Who saw both? Okay, special. You see something else? Or? Trees. I was told that you guys are quite advanced, but anyway, okay. Don't say trees. Can anybody see anything in there? Who's got it? Put your hands up. Who can't see it? Those with their hands down, I guess. Very. So I'll start off. Who's seen it before? Okay. Who sees the young lady? Who sees the old lady? And some of you can see both? Okay. Can everybody see the old lady? Yeah, can everybody see the... You've all seen it? Almost everyone. No. Some of you haven't, and some of you... Yeah, okay. Can I tell you a little story about this? So, just briefly, this... for those that can't see the old lady, that is her mouth and her chin and a big nose. You see that? The young lady is facing this way. And that's her jawline, the side of her face, an eyelash and a nose. Yeah, you all see them? Is anyone struggling? There's just something we can't help. Now, cognitive dissonance, what is that? Do you know what it is? Who studies psychology? Put your hand up. Okay, you should know. What did you learn? Alright, cognitive dissonance is the mental stress or discomfort when an idea, perspective or belief challenges or contradicts our own. So that's why in conflict it's really hard to hold 2 views simultaneously. We struggle with it. There's also something called the fundamental attribution error. Heard of that one? No. Well, what happens with this is if I was in conflict with James, just saying, he's still giving me greasies. I would say he acted like he did because he's a mean and nasty person. Do you know what I'd say about myself if I didn't act the best way? I was under a lot of stress. I'm really quite nice, but he's not. No offence, James. And confirmation bias, which I'm sure you all know. So we search for and see stuff that confirms our beliefs. Now, so they're the two traps so far. What do you reckon the third trap is? And it's something that you have very much likely have done either yesterday morning or today. Something we do in conflict very quickly and easily, and you will have done it today. What do you reckon it is?
Justify ourselves.
We do that. But it's actually making judgments of others. How many judgments have you made of other people since you attended this conference? Should we go around and say what they were? Just turn to the person next to you and say, this is how I judged you. Okay, would that be alright? I'm getting some resistance, it's alright. It's so easy to judge. Has anyone seen that episode? You know what happens afterwards? They stay there all night, and then police get involved, and then they start having a fight. It's quite hilarious. Alright, how many of you practice mindfulness on a daily basis? Okay. So, is the rest of everyone just like whatever? Didn't notice nothing. I'll tell you what, mindfulness is pretty hard. It's hard to do. There's lots of different definitions, but maintaining an open-hearted awareness, being in the present moment, and acceptance of what is. It's not easy. For me, I think mindfulness is also about being aware of your presence and how you impact on others. Because mindfulness can't be a selfish thing. It's an acceptance, a non-judgmental aspect to ourselves, but it also has to have that social element of an awareness of others. I think the reason why that's important with conflict is that we have to have some awareness of how we're being impacted, but also how we're impacting others in that conflict. I'm going to show you, I'm sure some of you will have seen these before, the conflict characters. I want to run through and then ask you which one you are. So, the first one I got that up there is the shark. They just want to get what they want. I've got the turtle down here which hides in its shell. The teddy wants to be liked, and the owl is assertive and will speak up himself but also listen to the other ones. Who would say that they are mostly like the turtle when it comes to conflict? Thank you for being honest. Who would say they are more likely to be the teddy? Who would say they're more likely to be the owl? And who would say they're a bit like a shark? Wow. Okay. Take note of those that just put their hand up and just stay away from you. We're not judging you, we're just going to keep away from you. Okay. How much does your approach to conflict change? You know, if you're having conflict with your partner, is that different to dealing with the conflict at work?